If I had to build wealth with no support, no network, and no one opening doors, I would not start with motivation. I would start by removing every habit that makes me easy to control. Because most men are not financially weak because they lack ambition. They are weak because their behavior is predictable. They earn, then spend. They feel pressure, then escape. They see status, then imitate it. They face uncertainty, then panic. They want freedom, but they keep feeding the systems that own them. And anything predictable can be harvested. The first truth is simple. Money is not only about income, money is about command. A man can earn more and still be owned if every dollar already has a master before it arrives. Bills command him. Impulses command him. Status commands him. Fear commands him. One emergency commands him. One market drop commands him. 1 month without approval commands him. That is not freedom. That is decoration on a cage. Machiavelli understood this because he did not believe men were ruled mainly by wisdom. He believed men were ruled by fear, appetite, appearance, and necessity. He wrote in The Prince, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." People judge what they see before they understand what is real. That is why weak men buy the appearance of wealth before they build the structure of wealth. They dress like freedom while living like dependence. The hidden mechanism is colder than motivation. Rich men build systems that keep working when emotion collapses. Weak men rely on emotion, then call the failure bad luck. Vanguard's How America Saves 2025 reported that a record 45% of participants increased their retirement deferral rates in 2024, either directly or through automatic increases. That is not dramatic. That is not cinematic. But it proves something most men avoid. Wealth is often built by boring systems that remove negotiation. Fidelity's second quarter 2025 retirement analysis showed that during market turbulence, only 5.5% of 401k savers changed their asset allocation. Most stayed disciplined while the emotional man wanted to react. That is the first law before the 7 habits even begin. The rich do not win because they never feel fear. They win because fear is not allowed to govern the system. If you do not understand money through power, you will misunderstand wealth your entire life. You will think income is the river. It is not. Control is the dam. You will think poverty is only the absence of cash. It is not. Poverty is the condition of being easily commanded. You can be intelligent and still be owned. You can be talented and still be desperate. You can be ambitious and still obey people you do not respect because your financial structure gives you no room to refuse. So these are not money tips. These are 7 habits that make a man harder to control. Habit 1. Rich men automate discipline. If your financial discipline requires a daily argument with yourself, you have already lost. Because the weaker part of you loves negotiation. It says, start next month. It says, you deserve this. It says, once you earn more, you will save more. But more money does not fix a man who has no command structure. It only gives his weakness more space to express itself. Automatic systems work because they bypass the most corrupt parliament in a man's life, his mood. Your mood will defend comfort. Your mood will rewrite weakness as self-care. Your mood will call delay wisdom. Your mood will call impulse freedom. And if every paycheck depends on your mood being strong, then your future is being negotiated by your weakest state. Machiavelli understood that order does not survive by good intentions. One commonly cited line from The Art of War is, "Discipline in war counts more than fury." The meaning is brutal. Energy is not enough. Intensity is not enough. Emotion is not enough. An army that depends on fury collapses when fury disappears. A man who depends on motivation collapses when motivation disappears. That is why automatic contributions matter. The money leaves before your ego can rename it available. The decision is made once, not every month. This is not laziness, this is strategy. Most men resist this because it insults their ego. They think, I should be able to control myself manually. But that is vanity. A ruler does not rely on citizens behaving well because they feel inspired. He builds laws. He builds consequences. He builds systems that reduce disorder. Machiavelli wrote, "Hunger and poverty make men industrious, and laws make them good." Human behavior needs structure. Without structure, appetite expands. Without law, impulse rules. Without automatic discipline, income becomes prey. The rich man does not ask, "Will I feel disciplined this month?" He asks, "What system makes discipline unavoidable?" Old belief. I need more motivation to save. New belief. I need fewer opportunities to betray myself. But automation only protects the money you decide to keep. The next danger is quieter. It is the money you never notice losing. Habit 2. Rich men track leaks. Weak men do not usually go broke from one dramatic mistake. They bleed out through convenience. Small subscriptions, small upgrades, small impulses, small rewards for a life they secretly resent. The danger is not that each leak is large. The danger is that each leak feels too small to respect. A man will defend a large purchase because it threatens his pride, but he will ignore 1,000 small exits because each one looks harmless. That is how systems harvest him without triggering resistance. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Men forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their patrimony." It is one of his harshest observations. He was not telling men to worship money. He was diagnosing that property touches survival, movement, status, and power. Resources matter because resources determine freedom of movement. If you do not track leaks, you will overestimate your control. You will say, "I do not know where my money went." That sentence is not harmless. It is a confession. It means the enemy moved through your territory without being seen. A rich man studies outflow like a commander studies supply lines, not because he is cheap, because every wasted dollar is a worker sent to build another man's kingdom. A coffee will not ruin you. A subscription will not ruin you. A delivery fee will not ruin you. But unconscious consumption as a personality will. The modern economy is designed to make spending frictionless. One click, one tap, one trial, one upgrade, one delivery. One delivery. One emotional escape. The less friction you feel, the more careful you must become. Convenience is not neutral. It is a business model built around the weakness of attention. Your world is not courts, armies, rival families, and city-states. Your world is apps, algorithms, subscriptions, credit, status signals, invisible fees, and platforms that study when your resistance is lowest. The weapons changed. Human nature did not. The man who tracks leaks is not obsessed with pennies. He is refusing to be governed by invisible exits. He knows attention is the first form of capital. If he cannot account for his money, he cannot claim command over his life. Old belief. Small expenses do not matter. New belief. Small leaks reveal whether I command my attention. If you are the kind of man building alone, stop confusing private consumption with private progress. You already know you want freedom, but your real problem is that your attention is still being rented by systems that profit from your distraction. If you keep spending unconsciously, you will stay easy to predict, easy to sell, and easy to control. Inside Patreon, you get deeper, unfiltered breakdowns on discipline, power, money behavior, and masculine self-command, so you can turn these principles into a private operating system. This is not for men looking for comfort. It is for men who are done being harvested. The decision is yours. But once a man stops leaking money, he faces a more humiliating test. Can he resist buying status before he owns freedom? Habit 3. Rich men buy assets before status. Most men do not buy luxury because they are rich. They buy luxury because they are tired of feeling low status. They want the world to see success before success is real. So they purchase the signal and delay the substance. This is how a man decorates dependence. Fake status is addictive because appearance gets rewarded before reality is verified. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." This is not a motivational quote. It is a political law. People respond to surfaces. They respond to clothing, posture, symbols, confidence, numbers, associations, and visible proof. But the same law that helps a ruler can destroy a weak man. Because if you buy appearance without power beneath it, the appearance becomes debt. If you buy status before assets, you become trapped in performance. You cannot admit weakness. You cannot step back. You cannot invest. You cannot endure looking ordinary. You become dependent on applause from people who would not rescue you if the image collapsed. This is especially dangerous for unsupported men. When no one believes in you, the temptation is to prove yourself through appearance. A car, a watch, a lifestyle, a rented signal, something visible enough to make people stop doubting you. But the market does not care how successful you look. Debt does not care how respected you want to feel. Bills do not bow to your image. The rich man asks a colder question before he buys. Does this purchase increase my freedom, my earning power, my ownership, my skill, my health, my network, or my leverage? If not, he delays it. Not forever. Until the foundation is real. Look at Warren Buffett. He did not build his public identity around luxury performance. The pressure around him was enormous. Wall Street status, billionaire culture, financial theater. Men around money often feel the need to scream wealth before they secure power. But Buffett's power came from capital allocation, patience, and ownership, not visible extravagance. The pressure was real. The action was simple. He kept compounding. The early proof was consistent investment discipline and control over capital. The power lesson is colder than the lifestyle fantasy. The man who owns productive assets does not need to beg appearance to speak for him. This does not mean every man must live exactly like Buffett. It means status without ownership is fragile. Machiavelli respected appearance, but he never confused appearance with naked dependency. Appearance is useful when it protects power. Appearance is dangerous when it replaces power. The poor man buys symbols to feel chosen. The strategic man buys assets, so he does not need to be chosen. Old belief: I need to look successful so people respect me. New belief: I need to become structurally free so respect becomes secondary. But assets alone are not enough, because life does not attack when you are ready. And the next habit determines whether chaos becomes inconvenience or conquest. Habit 4. Rich men respect emergency cash. A man without emergency cash is not unlucky, he is exposed. One accident, one job loss, one family crisis, one market drop, one delayed payment, one broken machine, one sudden bill. And suddenly his principles become negotiable. He tells himself he is independent, but one emergency makes him available to people, jobs, and terms he would have rejected if he had prepared. This is why cash matters in a world obsessed with investing. Cash is not only money, cash is time, cash is refusal. Cash is the ability to say no without shaking. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince who relies entirely on fortune is ruined when it changes. Fortune changes, markets change, employers change, clients change, health change, clients change, health change. Conditions change without asking if you are emotionally ready. If your life only works when nothing goes wrong, you do not have a strategy, you have a hope. Without emergency cash, you become available to bad terms. You take the terrible job because rent is near. You accept the disrespectful client because the account is empty. You sell investments at the wrong time because pressure arrives before patience can work. You borrow under stress. You ask help from people who will remember your weakness. You let urgency become your ruler. This is the political meaning of financial fragility. The desperate man negotiates from his knees. Emergency cash is not glamorous. It does not impress anyone. It does not make strangers admire you. It does not make you feel like a genius. But it gives you one of the most valuable powers a man can own: the ability to absorb disorder without surrendering direction. Fidelity's second quarter 2025 retirement analysis showed that only 5.5% of savers changed their 401k allocation during turbulence. That is discipline under pressure. But staying disciplined is easier when your short-term life is not on fire. A man with no cash reserve sees volatility as a threat to survival. A man with cash sees volatility as weather. Same market, different position. This is the difference between fortune and preparation. Fortune is what happens. Capacity is what you built before it happened. Emergency cash is not dead money. It is defensive power. It prevents forced obedience. It prevents panic selling. It prevents humiliation. It gives a man time to think while weaker men are forced to react. Old belief: cash is boring. New belief: cash is the wall between chaos and my freedom. But cash only protects you from emergencies. The next habit protects you from predators. Because in money, the most dangerous question is not, "What should I buy?" The dangerous question is, "Who profits when I remain ignorant?" Habit 5. Rich men study incentives. The financially weak man asks, "Is this person nice?" The rich man asks, "How does this person get paid?" Because kindness can be a costume. Expertise can be a sales funnel. Advice can be a trap wearing a clean shirt. Intelligent men still get financially exploited because they judge words before incentives. They listen to tone. They look at confidence. They look at lifestyle. They confuse presentation with truth. They forget that every system has a direction and every offer has a beneficiary. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims." That is not cynicism. That is a warning. People under pressure are easier to lead. People who want fast relief are easier to sell. People who feel behind are easier to manipulate. People who are ashamed of their current position are more likely to believe anyone who offers a shortcut out of it. If you do not study incentives, you will confuse persuasion with truth. You will believe the salesman because he sounds certain. You will follow the influencer because he looks rich. You will trust the platform because the interface feels clean. You will buy the course, the coin, the scheme, the upgrade, the promise. And afterward, you will call it betrayal. But betrayal often begins where verification ends. The rich man slows down when someone benefits from his urgency. He asks colder questions. Who gets paid if I say yes? What happens if I say no? What risk do they carry? What risk do I carry? What are they not saying? Where is the incentive pointing? This is not paranoia. This is literacy in power. Consider Charlie Munger. His reputation was not built only on investment returns. It was built on avoiding stupidity. He studied incentives, psychology, misjudgment, and the ways people fool themselves. Markets constantly offered noise, stories, and temptation. His action was not to chase every bright object. His action was to filter decisions through mental models and incentive awareness. The proof was not one lucky move. It was decades of disciplined partnership with Berkshire Hathaway and a public philosophy centered on avoiding obvious errors. The power lesson is simple. Wealth often comes less from being brilliant and more from refusing to become prey. Machiavelli would tell you that human beings do not reveal themselves only by what they say. They reveal themselves by what they gain. So when money is involved, do not ask whether someone sounds sincere. Ask where the incentive points. Old belief. I can trust people who seem helpful. New belief. I can respect people while still verifying the structure. But even when no one is deceiving you, there is still one predator left. Your own emotion. And it becomes most dangerous when money starts moving fast. Habit 6. Rich men avoid emotional investing. A weak man does not gamble because he loves risk. He gambles because he is ashamed of being early in the process. He wants the shortcut because the slow path reminds him he is still ordinary. That shame makes him reckless. This is why men abandon strategy during market volatility. Volatility exposes whether they own a plan or only borrowed confidence. When the market rises, they feel late. When the market falls, they feel threatened. When everyone is winning, they feel stupid for being careful. When everyone is afraid, they feel stupid for staying calm. Machiavelli wrote, "Fortune is the arbiter of one half of our actions, but she still leaves us to direct the other half." He does not deny luck, he denies surrender. Half the world is outside your control. The other half is preparation, discipline, judgment, and timing. If you invest emotionally, you will buy when the crowd makes greed feel intelligent. You will sell when fear makes surrender feel responsible. You will chase what already moved. You will panic when patience is required. You will mistake speed for power. And the market will invoice your emotion. The disciplined investor does not need to predict every storm. He needs a system that prevents storms from becoming identity crises. Fidelity's second quarter 2025 data showed that despite turbulence, only 5.5% of retirement savers changed 401k asset allocation, and among those who changed, most made only one change. The lesson is not never adjust. The lesson is that disciplined investors do not let every wave become a new religion. Emotional investing is especially dangerous for unsupported men. Because when a man feels ignored, he wants proof fast. He wants one win big enough to silence everyone. He wants a number on a screen to redeem years of being underestimated. He wants the market to become a judge, a witness, and a revenge weapon. So he becomes vulnerable to speculation. He wants the market to repair his status. He wants a trade to heal his humiliation. That is not investing. That is emotional revenge. And emotional revenge is expensive. Machiavelli's view of fortune was not passive. He admired the man who prepares, adapts, and acts when conditions favor him. But he would despise a man who calls impulse courage. A strategic man does not need the market to validate him this month. He is building a position that can survive many months. He does not need every move to prove his worth. He needs his system to protect his capital from desperation. Old belief. I need a big win to catch up. New belief. I need a system that prevents desperation from commanding capital. But even perfect investing cannot save a man whose earning power stays weak. The final habit is the one that turns money from defense into conquest. Habit 7. Rich men build earning power. Saving protects you. Investing compounds you. But earning power expands the battlefield. A man who only cuts expenses can survive. A man who builds earning power can maneuver. Earning power is not just salary, it is the market's need for your capability. Skill, proof, communication, sales, judgment, ownership, reputation, distribution. The modern man without earning power is always waiting to be chosen. Chosen by an employer, chosen by a client, chosen by a platform, chosen by a gatekeeper, chosen by someone with more leverage. The man with earning power becomes harder to ignore. If you do not build earning power, every financial strategy becomes defensive. You can budget, but you cannot expand. You can save, but slowly. You can avoid mistakes, but still remain replaceable. You can be disciplined, but trapped under a ceiling built by someone else. Machiavelli wrote, "The arms of others either fall from your back, or they weigh you down, or they bind you fast." In The Prince, he was attacking reliance on mercenaries and auxiliary forces. Applied carefully to modern life, the principle is this: do not build your future entirely on borrowed power. Do not depend only on a company. Do not depend only on one client. Do not depend only on one platform. Do not depend only on credentials. Do not depend only on being liked by people who can replace you. Build your own arms, your own skill, your own proof, your own distribution, your own reputation, your own ability to create value in a way the market can recognize. The unsupported man has no patron, so proof must become his patron. A portfolio, a track record, a body of work, a sales skill, a technical skill, a public signal, a reputation for results. When no one opens doors, evidence becomes the hand that forces the handle. Look at Mr. Beast as a creator example. Before global recognition, he spent years studying YouTube mechanics, posting, analyzing, improving, and reinvesting into content. The pressure was low attention, no guaranteed support, and no traditional gatekeeper handing him the crown. The action was not complaint. The action was study, execution, feedback, and iteration. The proof eventually appeared in videos that retained attention, scaled ambition, and converted attention into leverage. The power lesson is sharp. The market does not reward your pain. It rewards proof that captures behavior. For an unsupported man, this matters. You do not need everyone to believe in you. You need a skill valuable enough that disbelief becomes expensive. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men and imitate those who have been supreme." This does not mean copying their personality. It means studying the mechanism behind their rise. What did they control? What did they build? What proof did they create? What dependency did they escape? What battlefield did they understand before others did? Earning power is modern capacity. Not virtue as moral purity, capacity as force, competence, adaptation, judgment, the ability to impose form on chaos. Old belief: I need someone to give me a chance. New belief: I need to build proof so strong that chance becomes less relevant. And now the 7 habits connect. They are not separate money tips. They are one doctrine of financial sovereignty. Automate discipline. Remove negotiation from saving. Track leaks. What you do not inspect will govern you. Buy assets before status. Do not dress like freedom while living like dependence. Respect emergency cash. Cash is refusal power. Study incentives. Ask who profits from your ignorance. Avoid emotional investing. Do not gamble because you are ashamed of being early. Build earning power. Skill, Proof, communication, ownership, and reputation make a man harder to ignore. This is not motivation. This is financial statecraft. Machiavelli did not write for men who wanted comfort. He wrote for rulers, founders, commanders, and political survivors living in a world where weakness invited conquest. His world was not your world. You are not ruling Florence. You are not raising armies. You are not negotiating with rival princes. So do not distort him into a cartoon of cruelty, but understand the deeper continuity. Human nature still responds to fear, status, incentives, appearance, necessity, and power. Money is one of the modern arenas where those forces reveal themselves. The man with no financial discipline becomes easy to move. The man with no savings becomes easy to pressure. The man with no emergency cash becomes easy to corner. The man with no earning power becomes easy to replace. The man with no incentive awareness becomes easy to harvest. The man chasing status becomes easy to sell. The man investing emotionally becomes easy to shake. That is why wealth is not luck. Wealth is repeated self-command under pressure. Not once, repeated, when no one claps, when the market falls, when friends spend, when family doubts, when status tempts, when fear whispers, when boredom becomes heavy. When the weak part of you asks to negotiate, Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if one of the two has to be lacking." This line is often abused. It does not mean become cruel. It means affection is unstable when it is not backed by power. Modern translation: do not build a life that depends on being liked. Do not build finances that depend on everything going well. Do not build identity on applause. Build capacity. Build proof. Build reserves. Build earning power. Build systems that do not ask your mood for permission. If you are an unsupported man, stop calling private struggle the same thing as progress. You already know no one is coming, but your problem is that part of you still wants rescue to arrive in a more respectable form. If you keep waiting for permission, validation, perfect timing, or emotional certainty, you will stay financially weak and easy to command. Inside Patreon, you get exclusive, unfiltered breakdowns on power, discipline, money behavior, and psychological sovereignty. So you can build a colder operating system while other men keep consuming comfort. This is not for men who want excuses. It is for men who are building alone and refuse to stay controllable. The decision is yours. Unsupported men have a choice. They can keep waiting for someone to believe in them, or they can become evidence. They can keep buying status, or they can buy freedom. They can keep explaining their ambition, or they can build until explanation becomes unnecessary. They can keep calling weakness bad luck, or they can admit the colder truth. Most men are not defeated by the world first. They are defeated by the habits that make the world's control easy. If this message found you at the right time, do not just agree with it. Measure your life against it. Where are you too emotional? Where are you too available? Where are you leaking money? Where are you buying appearance instead of power? Where are you depending on fortune instead of building capacity? Subscribe if you are building alone and refuse to stay financially weak. Because no one is coming, good. That means no one owns your rise. Become too disciplined to be harvested.